Welcome to the following presentation of Minor League Esports on the MLE Network.
Welcome everybody to MLE. This is Minor League Esports presented by APM Music. And so begins Sunday Showdown for Week 8 of the regular season here in Season 12. My name is Thunder, and I'm joined in the casting booth this evening for a couple of matches by the fabulous, the real, not the fake, the real authentic Mobags, who is here after a long partnership hiatus, and we're getting back in the swing of things. The Mobags, I could not be more excited for the matches, for our pairing. It's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, Thunderbags is back in the booth, and we have an AL matchup today between the Blizzard and the Spartans. Both of them looking a little rough this season, I would say, both out of the playoff hunt at the time of this match. Blizzard are 5 games out of the wild card, with the Spartans sitting 8 spots out. Both not eliminated from playoff contention yet, but they're going to have a pretty convincing win in this series if either of them want a chance at the playoffs.
They're number 1. And Spartans on the other side of things at 22 and 28, which doesn't seem that far afield. That's 4th in their division. So it sounds very much like the Forge could be the more competitive of the two divisions, and the Blizzard are benefiting a lot from that. But the Blizzard at 26 and 24, if you're 2 games over 500, they're probably protecting a very narrow lead in that division, and every single game in this series is going to count a lot for them staying in the lead and keeping that playoff berth.
Yeah, and speaking of a competitive division, if you look at the actual standings here, you've got Jets at number 1, like you mentioned, and then you have the Express and the Knights both occupying a wild card position currently in the standings, all in the Forge division. So a very, very competitive division, and the Spartans are just sort of getting the brunt end of that. While they do have a better series record, it's just the game record that's currently causing them to suffer as we sort of progress through the playoffs and as we get down to the sort of nitty-gritty of everything here.
And as we pour over stats as well, I suppose, as we get close to match time here, that we should talk about notable players for either squad. I'm seeing a whole lot of peso on the side of the Blizzard, picking up the spot for every single stat line at the top of that team, whether it be MVPR, goals, assists, you name it, Peso is at the top. Now, I didn't see, and I could quickly take a gander here, Peso is going to be fielded this evening. So I think the Blizzard know full well how important this match is, and they're playing who is undoubtedly their top player. But do you know of anyone on the Spartans side of things that could live up to what Peso, the kind of stats they're putting down on the other side?
So you would think, me being a Spartan last season, that I'd have a better idea, but I really don't. I don't recognize many of these players. I think maybe SpongeBob Goober is one that I have potentially seen before, possibly in 4-mans, possibly in some scrims here and there. But really, the rest of the Spartan squad here is really kind of unknown to me, so it's going to be interesting to see. Are they going to be able to sort of go up against Peso, who is, from what you could see, clearly the best player on the Blizzard team coming out here today? Players are joining up. We're about to get into it, so this is going to be very interesting, to say the least.
It is, and it's worth mentioning, in threes, I find it even more remarkable that a single player can stand out that much in stat lines on a team, because there is that much more share of the stats to be picked up in a mode with more players on the field and more action. So Peso, I think, is going to be an X factor here, and we will wait to see whether that unfolds as we get into game number 1 here. This is the opening series on MLE Sports GG2. Secondary stream for the channel. Blizzard are getting off to a hot start here with Face pouring a shot onto the target. Now Matt's going to grab control on the side wall. Tries to chip it forward, but that's a good challenge by Peso to send it to the opposite side. SpongeBob, G. Goober, that player that you mentioned, a familiar face in MLE. That's a great touch into the middle as well. But Bright's got the clear. Matt still keeping the ball in the zone and keeping a shot on target. Face can't get there in time. And Matt, just keeping the ball at the midfield, gets a goal out of it.
Yeah, if Matt doesn't stop that ball from going past him, that is an automatic goal for the Blizzard. You saw two Spartan players up for that, SpongeBob Goober and I believe Southpaw Ryan, both up and both committed on that play. It is a miracle that they did not get scored on there, and the Spartans are going to pull out ahead early in this one.
They escaped there on a play, like you said, that could have been very threatening the other way had they not had Matt bail them out. Thankful for the opening goal, though, I'm sure, here, as Face tries to get the ball out of the corner for the Blizzard. SpongeBob now, long air dribble all the way downfield. Clearly some mechanical skill on hand for SpongeBob G. Goober on that side of the field. Meanwhile, the other way, Face, also an air dribble attempt. Bright goes up for the shot. What a save from Matt as well. And Matt, for the Spartans so far, has been a standout player, but hey, we talked about one name on the Blizzard that might show up early, and there it is right there. Peso gets the opener.
Wow, what an incredible save. A shame that one goes in, but just like you mentioned, Peso putting one on the board, getting them back to even. And man, oh man, both players mentioned are definitely out here showing that they need to be mentioned in the conversations of who are the better players on these teams.
Fair point, and Matt already proving that they're really wanting to do it on both ends of the field. That save, as you mentioned, it's a shame that it didn't get to count for the team in the end. But hey, at the very least, a goal got scored, so we got to see the save again, which you don't get to do very often in an MLE series.
Fair enough, fair enough.
Out of the middle of the field here, it's a bit of pressure from the Blizzard as it pours out of the corner. Peso diving up for that. They actually do get the touch, but the wrong direction, as they still keep the pressure on here. Peso out of the corner, long aerial attempt there, and it looks to me, in this lobby, there is a lot of aerial skill for the Academy League level. We've seen several air dribble attempts on both sides of the field, and I think the aerial control of this match is going to be a big factor to see who comes out on top.
Yeah, aerial control and really knowing when to restrain yourself and when not to go for the aerials. You see Peso there using a lot of the boost and not getting a lot of effect out of it. If these players can play restraint but also still have that sort of aerial control in their back pockets, it's going to definitely help out whoever is able to sort of play with that mentality.
And that discretion can be a big difference maker at the Academy League level as well, because you're gaining a lot of mechanics at this level, and then comes the decision making of when are you going to use those when they're most effective, rather than just spamming them all the time. The Blizzard spamming the crossbar on that one at Peso, a critical miss there that could have given them the game lead just past the halfway mark. The Blizzard here now are trying to maintain that control that they had in the zone, but it has dissipated. It's in the other corner now. Wright gets a handle on this ball off the right side wall and sends it downfield. SpongeBob on the side wall, challenged by Face. This goes to the opposite side now. Southpaw, a miss. That's a huge demo, though. That whiff from Southpaw could have been very detrimental, but the player ahead of that play got demoed and removed, and that's the first critical demo, maybe the first demo period that we've seen this series.
Yeah, that was a huge demo, stopped all momentum the other way around, but they didn't have control of the ball, so it didn't end up assisting them in any way. They got to be able to control the ball through those demos to take advantage of them. We're seeing right now the Spartans are in a bit of a shooting drought. They haven't had a shot since the first goal of the game, and they're definitely going to have to put a few more on if they are going to want to sort of stave off this sort of offensive onslaught from the Blizzard that we've been seeing the last 4 minutes.
And meanwhile, the Blizzard continuing to pour on shots of their own. They've got the Spartans spending a lot of time in that yellow side of the field, although that's a fantastic clear. Matt could corral this towards the net downfield, but they can't get the piece of it. And Bright's already back the other way here for the Blizzard. Here comes the counterattack. All three players laterally lined up on the field there, but the play just fell apart because of a mechanical inconsistency in the corner. Still the Blizzard, though, with pressure. Peso. This is in front. SpongeBob with some nice poise on the goal line. There's a nice redirect attempt from the Spartans as well. We're down to 40 seconds here in game number 1. Great touch into the mid, but the shot is off target. The Blizzard had a golden opportunity to take the lead there, but still we press on and even closer to overtime.
Yeah, and I love what I'm seeing from Matt here. He is always the one that is back, saving these goals from going in. He didn't get contact on that ball, but his presence was enough to stop that goal from the Blizzard. That was a ridiculous chance and an opportunity that they had, and it didn't go in because Matt was able to get in the way of that. And Goober gonna put this one in. He put that one in with 13 seconds, and the Spartans are gonna take a lead with their second shot of the game.
Goober with sheer iron will on that one. It was an awkward challenge to say the least, but they got the better of it somehow and recovered very quickly to get that follow-up touch and bury that one. That is a clutch goal here for the Spartans, who have been under a huge amount of pressure from the Blizzard all game. The shot tally right now as it stands and this game winds down, I'll bring it up maybe as we end. We're going to watch this 0-second time first to see what the Blizzard can do. They may have a chance at a shot on target. That's a great touch away. All right, the ball has now touched the ground. I can bring up the fact that the shot count, I think, was 7 or 8 to 2 for the Blizzard there. It was 8 to 2, the shots, and the Spartans still squeak out a lead. The Blizzard are really going to feel like they had a game stolen from them here.
Yeah, and by all accounts, they did. They had the majority of the pressure, and it didn't matter. The Spartans only had 2 saves, and those 2 saves were very early on, so just a little bit of inconsistency here from the Blizzards. Their shooting just wasn't on target. That's just point blank what it was. And Peso, we kind of remarked on that one opportunity that he had early on. Man, I bet he wishes he had that one back, because we would be in an overtime game right now.
We would, and I got the sense from the Blizzard and the way they played in this opening game. I've seen more than a few series where one team gets the opening win and then it's just a sweep the other way from there on out. And you can see little flags and markers here or there of when a series could swing entirely the other direction. And I think the Blizzard narrowly missing so many scoring chances there could be a real sign of that. I'm not going to predict it, but I would say that the Spartans need to be on serious alert here, that the momentum could swing the other direction in a hurry in this series, and it could get out of hand. They have to mitigate these defensive chances farther away from their net. They cannot let the Blizzard keep getting so many shots near target.
Yeah, and I kind of definitely agree with your sentiment there. You can definitely see a huge momentum twist when you hand a team a loss like that, and we just kind of need to see them take advantage of mistakes that they're seeing from the Spartans if they want to make that happen. As we see Matt up for this one, is going to try to get that one passed down, but not going to find it. Blizzard are going to get this one cleared out and cause the Spartans to retreat here.
Nice clear there from Goober on the side wall. It's a good half volley to get it well and away from the shooting lane. Now it's on the side wall here. Matt trying to take it center. Southpaw is circling there, waiting for an opportunity to strike, and thinks better of it. Now Goober in the corner, pressured by Bright, still gets the better of the touch and gets the clear out. Matt, the follow-up touch is a challenge to the opposite side. Southpaw, a chip across. Where's Matt? Waiting there, but again, it's a fine line between good patience and going for scoring opportunities and needing to have a little bit more of aggressiveness. I think right now the Spartans are straddling that line, and in threes, you're afforded a little bit more opportunity to dive in on some plays as long as your rotations are clean. The Spartans might want to do that here.
Yeah, absolutely. You want to sort of always have some pressure on the ball. We saw a little bit earlier on in the play that all of the Spartans were sort of back in retreat, no one pressuring the ball, so that gives the Blizzard a free sort of look at the goal. Nothing came from it, but they have 3 shots, and the Blizzard now have 4 shots, and they have their first goal.
Well, you mentioned a free look at the goal. That is one, no doubt about that. There was nobody on the back line, and it was just from a challenge that looked like it was destined to be a 50-50 in the middle of the field, and it was just a clean win for that Blizzard player. It caught the defensive back line of the Spartans off guard. And now we sit at 1-0 here. I believe it was the Spartans who got the opener in the previous game, so things have swung the other way now. And the Blizzard have got the opening lead here. Took a little bit longer, though, as we're approaching the 3-minute mark of the game with only 1 goal on the board. Spartans trying desperately to add 1 and a tying goal for themselves here, but it's already back into their end. Bright whiffs on the touch. That might have fooled the defense, though. Peso's got a chance. Oh, it's top corner. Just off. Face dives in to get it. And again, that strong defensive play from the Spartans is coming through. It's very often last minute, but it is there when it needs to be more often than not.
Yeah, and I just noticed something. I can definitely tell that the Spartans are communicating well with each other as someone was back, or rather retreating, when someone else was behind going for the ball, and they had a perfect opportunity, I thought, to go for the ball. They kind of just left it there for their teammates. So they are in communication. They want to get this goal scored, but they have to get some shots on target. This is a great opportunity. The ball just floating in the box. No one there to make a touch, though, and Peso is going to try to clear this one out. All Spartans in retreat mode right now. Goober finally gonna get a touch on that ball, get it up high, and Matt putting a shot on target. That one's just gonna trickle in. Matt gonna score a goal, get us knotted up at 1, and man, oh man, the Spartans are back with only 1 shot on the goal.
And that came down to just speed of the aerial. Obviously, it was not the biggest quality touch towards the net. It slowly bounced its way in. But Matt, I think, got a good piece of an aerial there that most people at this level would not expect you to get. Speaking of goals you might not get, Goober gets the dunk. Looked for the goal, but it was enough to set up Southpaw. And the Spartans really sharing amongst the roster in offense right now.
Yeah, and it's just a matter of the Blizzard not getting the touches that they need to clear themselves out of danger. That's 2 goals now in a row where they could have had a touch, they could have had a 50, but it just goes a little bit awry, just slightly off target for something. And ooh, we nearly see another one go in here for the Spartans. And the Spartans are not putting a lot of offensive output in, but they are just getting goals for it. And that one's going to be, oh no, a miss here from a SpongeBob G. Goober, but man, oh man, the Spartans are looking good right now.
Very good. And I got to say, if we're talking card control, there might not be a better player on the field in that department than Goober. But meanwhile, Southpaw and Matt are teaming up for a goal the other way, and the Spartans look perfectly happy with any combination of players to score a goal in this game. And my pseudo prediction that I had made that could have happened, it's not. It's swinging entirely the other way. And the team that had all the pressure last game, even though they lost to Blizzard, they've had very little this game to speak of.
Yeah, and it seems like the Spartans got a small little taste of some offensive output, and now it is just a non-stop onslaught. Basically, almost the opposite of what we saw in the beginning of this game and in the entirety of the game before. And man, oh man, the Blizzard don't seem to know how to react to it. They can't get these clears out that they were getting before, and they're not finding each other on the pitch to get these passes around. And the Spartans are just out here just really putting it to them, putting shots over and over again as we continue on with this game.
Well, we look then to the Blizzard being in the driver's seat now in this game in the final minute to try and find themselves a goal and get to that magic moment within 1 goal where you can make a lot of things happen even when there are technically 0 seconds on the clock, but they got to get there. Peso shot on target. Nice save away from Southpaw on that far side. Peso tried to thread the needle into the bottom corner, but that defense, again, from the Spartans is standing up right on the back end now. Feeds a pass to Peso. The touch is missed, though. Dangerous ball in front of the net. Nice touch from Face over to the opposite corner, but still the Spartans' pressure continues. Southpaw trying to touch it towards the net. No piece of that. Matt gets a 50-50 back out into the zone. Bit of confusion here from the Blizzard players as they try to corral the ball. And Goober's going to capitalize on that, send it all the way back into the zone. The Spartans doing a fantastic job of just wasting time here. They're not finding any more goals, but they don't need to at this point.
No, they don't need to. They're doing a fantastic job of just bleeding the clock down, and the Blizzard haven't had any really sort of meaningful opportunities the last minute and where they really needed it. And now we have 0 seconds on the board, 2 goals down. So this is going to be another victory here for the Spartans. Much more convincing, in my opinion. Again, they were sort of the same sort of team they were in the first game, in the first half of this game. But as soon as they scored that goal, it was just all or nothing. They were all in, and they had a huge offensive output that put them ahead in this game.
And I think it just got all the more interesting that the Spartans stole game 1 away from the Blizzard. That may end up being one of the most crucial single game wins they get all season now, because it's a game where if you look at the stat line, you would think they got the goal tallies wrong for each team, but they managed to squeak that out. And now they are warming up into a team that could fly through this entire series in a hurry. And so the Blizzard, there's got to be a pushback here at some point back the other way. You would imagine Peso from the stat lines is going to be the leader that would lead that charge and get some momentum back here for the Blizzard, but maybe not. It could be any one of these 3 players that try to ignite the Blizzard offense and get them back in this series. It's pretty quick here. It seems like the series just started a moment ago, but already the Spartans are on series point.
Yeah, on series point, and really, I would say both of these teams are very equal as we see Peso picking up where he left off in game 1, scored himself the first goal 10 seconds in. Not even enough time to get our post-game, pre-game analysis through, but we'll take that goal, and so will the Blizzards as we move on here.
Well, I think too the Blizzard, they're happy that they cut off our game analysis, because that's exactly what they needed. If they had let the Spartans settle back into the rhythm that they've been in for a game and a half, it would not be a pretty picture for the Blizzard right now, so they're going to be very glad they grabbed the opener in this one. Meanwhile, they're in trouble back the other way, and Goober got a touch somehow over top of the oncoming defenders from all angles and just squeaks it through.
Yeah, that was a great little play there. Matt over to SpongeBob. I don't think Matt thought that ball was going to go in, just kind of hoping something happened, and SpongeBob was there to make it happen. They're going to put this goal up, tie us back up. I think it was, 15 seconds off the clock, and we are back to an even game. So these Spartans are not slowing down one bit. They want to take this series, and hopefully for them, they get a 5-0, because that would be very beneficial to their playoff hopes.
Well, no kidding. For a team that sits right now 7 games behind the divisional lead, getting 5 potentially closer would be pretty amazing, and Goober is continuing that charge here. A fantastic challenge out of the middle of the field, a cheeky little pop pass, and Goober's got all of the net to work with, none of the defense present there for the Blizzard, and it's 2-1 Spartans.
Yeah, and we see that connection once again, Matt to Goober, and I think that is a good little connection that they've got going, and if they can keep it up for the rest of the series, it is definitely looking viable that they're going to be able to get that 5-0, and man, oh man, that would, like we were saying, that would be huge for playoff contention as far as they're concerned. They have one of the lowest sort of probabilities of making it in their conference, and that would just be massive for them.
Absolutely massive, and Spartans here, no signs of slowing down for them. Meanwhile, the Blizzard are trying to push back the other way. Base has got a touch towards the mid that's easily handled by Matt. Goober on the sidewall, fishing for a pretty sweet aerial off the side. It's going to be enough to give Matt an opportunity, and they will finish it off. It's a very similar scoreline that we saw in the previous game here for the Spartans.
Yeah, and they were getting a little tired of Matt to Goober, so they decided Goober to Matt was the way to go. They're going to put that one in, and we have the same scoreline that we had at the end of game 2 now, not even halfway through the third game. These Spartans are warming up, and they are on fire, I would say, at this point, just really sticking it here to the Blizzard, who I think pretty certainly should have won that first game, and now they are just completely dominating, completely flipping the script on both of us, I would say.
And I'd say most interesting to me from a stats perspective is that Southpaw, of these 3 players on the field, and for the Spartans roster as a whole, is the leader in MVPR. But you could make the argument that Matt and Goober have been trading positions as the top players for this Spartans squad. So clearly the Spartans have some depth to their roster that the Blizzard feel like they might be lacking at this point. They're lacking in a touch on that ball, but it's not going to matter. They won't get scored on that play. And still they press into this offensive zone. They got more game to work with this time. It's the same Spartans lead, but a little bit more ground that they have time to make up on. And it's them out of their corner here. That touch is only going to last a few seconds. Face is going to have to clear again. Matt dives in, but's beaten to that pretty cleanly by Peso, who's now following it the other way. Southpaw's going to miss. Peso with a chip into the mid. What a pass. Face with a shot on target, top 90. And that is a clean play from the Blizzard to get within 1 goal. That was brilliant.
Yeah, not necessarily a good touch there from Peso, but it is the perfect pass to Face, who puts a perfect shot on target. No way that anybody's going to be able to stop this. And the Blizzard shows some signs of life, finally getting some goals on the board. They now have 2, only down 1. Plenty of time left to flip this series around and take the win, but it's going to take a lot of effort on their part to do it, and we'll see if they are up to the task here in the next 2 minutes, if they can get this game 3 under their belt.
And this, an unfamiliar position for both teams, in a certain manner of speaking, in this series. The Blizzard couldn't get this close in the previous game to give themselves a shot at tying it. And so the Spartans are under more pressure than they're used to, and the Blizzard in the opposite direction, kind of the same thing, where they're tasked with now having to find a single goal, but to play just conservatively enough that you don't let that lead open back up to 2. And I think if the Blizzard are going to do it here, it seems most likely that they're going to do it with a team play. They haven't had much in the way of individual flair, but it feels like it's going to come from them on combining on a play and just teaming up at the right time.
Yeah, absolutely. We haven't seen much of the mechanical side of the Blizzard quite yet, but they are definitely connecting on some team plays. They're going to have to get back for this one. Just going to be able to. Hopefully a clear for Peso. He's going to find that clear out, and that is definitely opportune for them. Giving up a goal at this point would have been very, very detrimental to their chances in this game.
Yeah, the timing's about as bad as you can imagine if they had let that slide back to 4-2 at that point, but meanwhile, they're pouring some offense back the other way. Goober's got a double touch off of the ceiling to get that clear away. The Blizzard wise to that, at least enough to keep the balls centered around that midfield line. Back into the zone. Southpaw gets a nice touch around 1 on defense. Matt once again diving in on the play, coming up with nothing. Here's Peso back the other way. Going for the individual effort on target. That's hit wide though. The Blizzard are going to have to recollect on the other side. Base. Looks for the mid. Peso is there. Great speed, though, from Matt, who beat out 2 possible Blizzard players on that play. Flicks the other way. And my goodness, the counterattack for the Spartans looking very scary right now, which for the Blizzard, with 10 seconds left, is not where you want to be.
No, definitely not. And they nearly gave up another one there, but able to keep it out, able to keep this 0-second drama alive, but it is going to touch their Spartans taking game 3, taking the series, and man oh man, just kind of defying our expectations of them in this series. They have completely turned around their play style and just sort of the way that they are carrying themselves on the field. They feel like the better team now, despite sort of what they showed us for the first 1.5 games that we watched them. And it's very, very impressive to watch here from them, and especially from SpongeBob G. Goober. Very, very mechanically gifted, as you can kind of see as we go through, getting all of those sort of air dribble touches, getting some really strong clears, and really, I think, just kind of catapulting his team past the Blizzards, or the Blizzard, I should say, and really just putting on a show.
And it does feel like that's one of the big differentiating factors between these teams, is that the Spartans, based on kind of that academy pace that we're used to seeing at this level, they're the much more reliable team to make a play that's unexpected for this level. It's it's the aerial touches, the double touches off the ceiling, those half volleys off the back wall, those ones where you don't expect Academy League players to make these plays consistently. So every time they make one of those plays, it's upsetting the Blizzard rotation just enough because they're not prepared for it. I think the Blizzard have to expect better from the Spartans and position themselves to be ready for those kinds of plays. If they make that adjustment, it could be a real sign of improvement here for the Blizzard. But unfortunately for their team, as far as the series goes, they're playing for, I guess you could call them dignity games. At this point, it's not going to be a series win. Granted, if you're sitting atop the division, as the Blizzard were at the beginning of this series, these 2 games are massively important for their season.
Yeah, and not to sort of force this pun, but it seems like maybe the Spartans are just forged a little bit harder by their division, being the tougher one in the conference, or rather in the league, I should say. We nearly see an incredible goal from the Blizzard, not going to find its way in. Counterattack here for the Spartans is going to be a strong one, but that's going to be off the crossbar and cleared out. But yeah, they're just sort of, for lack of a better term, built different. They are just a little bit better than the rest of the league because of how tough their division is. It just doesn't show on paper because they've fallen to those tougher opponents.
Well, it really is going to be interesting as we head down the stretch of this series as it unfolds for the playoff standings, because Spartans were sitting at 22 and 28. They're already recuperated to 25 and 28, and they could get a whole lot closer to 500 if they can squeak out a couple more games. But we'll see what the Blizzard have got in store for them here. In game number 4, we're at Utopia Dusk, another one of the most picturesque arenas, I would say, in Rocket League, and it looks like the Blizzard so far have stemmed the offensive tide from the Spartans enough, but I haven't seen, other than that Blizzard attempted pinch play. Oh, the fake from Goober is going to cut me off and is going to... That's leaving some axles strewn all about the defensive line for the Blizzard. That was ridiculous.
Yeah, you absolutely love to see it if that's your teammate. You hate to see it if that was your opponent. Man, oh man, what a brutal fake that was. And we nearly see an opportunity for another one, but that one is going to be cut just short of the fake. As we see the Spartans putting another one on, 2 players up for this save. It is going to be good enough to keep it out, but the Spartans are still trying to get this piled on as they continue to go. A 5-0 for them would be definitely massive for playoff implications, and that is exactly what they are looking for here in the series.
It is, and we mentioned Peso at the outset of this series as a potential and a probable difference maker. Peso averages 2 goals a game, and the Spartans right now are holding a player like that to hoping to find a goal in a game, which is a ridiculous testament to their midfield control, their defensive work that they have done. So it's been a complete game so far for the Spartans this series, and we just haven't seen... I think it's a lack of really threatening play from the Blizzard. They're pretty solid, but they're just not threatening the net enough. Certainly they did in game number 1, but that was about the end of that. Since then, we haven't seen it nearly often enough.
Yeah, the Spartans have been doing a really good job of bottling up every opportunity, as we see another one a little bit inconsistent, not on target, and no one having to make a save. The Spartans are kind of on top of each other, but still no threat here from the Blizzard, as we see multiple players now missing the ball here in the middle of the field. And again, it just sort of is a testament to how ineffective the Blizzard have been at scoring the ball, and it is just the Spartans that have been able to squeak out the goals when they need them, and have really just kept themselves on top of that by just being a little bit, like, slightly more consistent on the ball and in their shooting. And there goes yet another one, nearly perfectly placed but not in. And man, oh man, the Blizzard want like half of these shots back to be on target, because they would just be crushing the Spartans right now.
Oh my goodness. Well, it depends what field you're on, I guess, whether you want to call it the brickwork as it is here, or the ironwork, the woodwork, whatever it is. The Blizzard are hammering it game after game, and they need to find this shooting accuracy. Right now they're within 1 goal, and this is a very attainable game for them to get their first in the series. They cannot let the Spartans threaten too many more times, because they are bound to break through if you give them that opportunity. And the Blizzard here, getting out of their zone on the back of a clear from Bright, are in the opposite corner now. Face just circling there, waiting for a touch. Peso's going to fire that off the corner, but only lands in the hands of a Spartan player. Matt, off the opposite side, trying to dunk and get that centered for a player. And the Spartans, they look relaxed right now, even with just a 1-goal lead. It really looks as though they don't feel pressured to make desperation plays. They're going for the plays they want to, and they have the defense ready when they need it.
Yeah, absolutely. They are kind of just taking it a little bit easy, foot off the gas, if you will. They're just a little bit kind of methodical now in the way that they're approaching this ball. They're not trying to let anything get behind them. They're just trying to keep the ball in front of them, as we see.
No.
Yet, that is like the same exact goal we saw for the first one. Goober does it again with the nastiest fake I've ever seen. I hope that it wasn't the same player twice, because man, oh man, that's gotta hurt.
Oh, it stings. Yeah, it stings for the team if it wasn't the same player, and if it was, that's a whole other level. But Goober, my goodness. I feel like if those both got clipped for play of the week, you're going to have a hard time telling the two apart, because they were so similar. But that is continuing to be clean Rocket League here from the Spartans. Like I said, they look completely comfortable, and the ball is still in the court of the Blizzard to try and make them break that rhythm somehow, and they still haven't found a way to do it.
Yeah, and the mistakes that we saw from the Spartans in game 1 in the first half of game 2, I'm not seeing them anymore. I'm not seeing those double commits that we were seeing that were very sort of defendable and very counterable. I'm just not seeing those opportunities for Blizzard. The Blizzard have to kind of go out of their way now to make those opportunities happen, and they just have not been able to do so thus far. And man, oh man, the Spartans are they are looking very, very good, and it's really kind of, I know it's a terrible pun, but like I said, they are just forged a little bit differently. They're just on a different sort of level because of how tough their division is, and you don't sort of expect to see it when you look at their record, but playing against them, I bet, is a lot harder than they look on paper.
Well, no kidding. And the thing is that if you look at the stats distributions for the Spartans in threes, it's very even as far as MVPRs go and sharing among the different stat lines. It's clear that, and I alluded to it a little earlier in the series, this roster has a lot of depth, but for some reason, and I think we've pointed several times to that being a divisional reason, they haven't been able to turn that into wins very often for themselves. But now, when we're in interdivisional play here, like Storm versus Forge, Spartans have been the more successful team, but they are not right now. And here's the team play from the Blizzard coming through again. What a passing play and a shot from Bright.
Yeah, just great heads-up play there from Bright, getting a little commendation there from the opponents. That was a great shot on target, lots of power, and just in a perfect position to find it was Bright, as he's going to put that one in and put the Blizzard up, as they are now defending their goal from seemingly the other side of it. They were kind of going at it, as this one's going to trickle towards. Is it going to find its way in? It is, and yet again we have ourselves a tie game, and the Blizzard are the one tying it up, or rather the Spartans are the ones tying it up.
You, I think, would be hard-pressed to find a slower, the speed at the bottom when you saw the goal replay belies how slowly that ball was going, because it got tapped in by the defender trying to fish it out. But that just walked its way into the net. And it points to what I mentioned earlier about the unexpected plays that come out of this Spartans team every single game. They seem to find some of these plays that the Blizzard are just not able to read very well. And that might have been the single biggest factor that the Spartans have been leaning on that has been giving them success. Oh my goodness, Southpaw absolutely slammed a pass at Goober, almost challenging them to up their game to get a piece of that one. They weren't able to find it here, but we're tied now, heading into a minute and a half played, and this is, I suppose, as close a game as we've seen since game one between the two.
Yeah, definitely very close so far, and I definitely got to commend, I think that was Southpaw or either SpongeBob Goober that went up for that sort of pass. That was a rocket of a pass, nearly finding the connection with it, but not quite enough. But definitely hats off for trying to go for that one.
Absolutely, and it's something we saw was lacking a little bit from the Spartans earlier in the series. It was an unwillingness to dive in and risk plays like that. But ever since they found themselves willing to do it, they have been winning and doing a whole lot of it. So clearly it's a marker that they can probably continue to feel comfortable doing that throughout the season. The Blizzard are in their zone, trying to get this thing out of harm's way here, and it's all the way back down the other side of the field. Matt towards the sidewall is going to collect this one and some boost to boot. Goober now with possession on the sidewall, stopped out by Bright. Awkward recovery though, they're going to hand off possession to Peso, who kicks it on the back wall, heads it towards the middle. Face trying to follow up on the rebound. Where's the third player? Bright leans in as well. And the full rotation having to pull through there for the Blizzard. And again, Mobags, it's shot accuracy plaguing them.
Yeah, shot accuracy, pass accuracy, sort of the whole thing. But that one gonna find its way in. Bright gets his second goal of the evening, and it is courtesy of a great pass from Peso. We were just sort of speaking about how their passing and shooting accuracy was off, and they go ahead and put one in for them, taking the lead here in the last game.
Yeah, that half volley pass out of the corner was pretty sweet from Peso, and it's going to set up a lead here that is crucial for the Blizzard. And if I'm not mistaken, it's one of maybe only two that they have had all series. I think they got the opening goal in game number 2, and that's been about it. Since then, it's been a whole lot of Spartans, as you can tell by the series scoreline at 4-0. But in the final game here, the Blizzard are threatening, continuing to threaten that back wall as well that's defended by Matt. The sidewall we go. Bright, who's been the star of the Blizzard squad here in game number 5, sends it towards the mid, but saves the shot from Peso. Of course, the moment I say that they've been the star of the game, they have a team save on their player's attempt on the net.
Well, they're certainly still a bright spot on their team, but you're definitely not going to want to save the shots from your teammates. They do have the lead still, so they're no worse for it not getting that. But if the Spartans are able to tie this game up, they're definitely going to want to have that one back.
Absolutely. Blizzard, though, still maintaining control and heading into the offensive zone yet again. Peso trying to push this towards the mid. Face tasked with cleaning up out of the corner is not going to be able to do it. Face was the last line of defense on that one, and the Spartans completely undid their line. And what a passing play to Goober up front. We've seen it so many times this series, and it pays dividends yet again.
Yeah, it's hard to sort of sometimes relate real-life sports to Rocket League. They are very similar, but sometimes it's a little bit tough to make the comparison. But that is the perfect sort of example of a give and go. Goober over to, I believe it was Matt, and then Matt just booms it downfield. Goober gets a perfect touch on it, puts that one in, and knots us up. And now Blizzard reeling from that own save that they had and wishing that they had that one back as they try to get this game under control and in the lead. That is a great opportunity there for the Spartans, not going to find its way through. Blizzard counting their lucky stars that they got out of that one unscathed.
Well, we're sat at just above 20 seconds here left in this game. It's deadlocked and we are headed squarely for overtime unless that's broken by a play by Matt. Had a late flip there, delayed it. Goober gets dunked by Peso at the middle of the field. Peso goes for the bump on Southpaw, who was the last line of defense there, but can't quite find it. 5 seconds now in game number 5 before we could see the first overtime frame of this match in the final game, and that's going to touch here. We're finally going to see some overtime between these two teams, and one goal is going to decide game number 5.
Yeah, and I'm kind of surprised that they waited until game 5 to sort of give us, not that it hasn't been competitive, but it seems like we had sort of the conclusion of the match about a minute to go left in each game, so it was never really up for question. But now, finally, the Blizzard showing us that they can play with the Spartans when clearly they could. They just haven't been doing it.
Oh boy, was that a close chance. It seemed fairly unthreatening initially. Oh, Goober was looking for 2 players on the fake that time, which would have been a whole other level of nastiness for the Spartans, and that would have been a series-winning double fake. So I think the Blizzard very thankful that they didn't have to deal with that. Goober, though, is still looking for an air dribble down the other way, as the Spartans, of the 2 teams in overtime so far, they've looked the calmer of the 2, which has been their MO for a lot of this series. But that can swing and change in an instant. That's a shot on target. Nice save away from Face. And it is definitely the Spartans who have the better of the Blizzard in this overtime so far. That could be it, but it's not on target. The miss just narrowly from Matt there. And is it going to be the Blizzard counterattack? After all this, are they going to come back the other way on one chance and finish this thing?
Yeah, it's looking like it could be. The Spartans are really sort of going all in on these opportunities. You see them diving in for those passes, diving in for those balls that are way above the goal, and you see 2 Spartans up here. They want this game to be won in overtime, and that is a good opportunity, but it's going to be just off target and cleared out here by the Blizzard, who are looking to start this counterattack that we have sort of been thinking could be a little bit dangerous, and that's a dangerous ball if they can get this one awkward. It is certainly awkward, but not dangerous here for the Blizzard as they continue to try to get this game under control and won.
And they're trying to connect passes in the offensive zone there, but Bright had peeled away for fear of leaving the back line open. Face now slams this down into the zone. It's kicked off to the side by Matt. Face can't get the touch into mid. Would have been a crucial one that could have set up the game-winning opportunity. And still we press on here. Goober with a dribble opportunity, an air dribble opportunity, final touch, Face makes the save off of the post, the follow-up shot off the crossbar, it's dancing in front of the goal line, and no Spartan could plug it home. My goodness, was that close, but we're at 2.5 minutes of overtime, and it's not over yet.
Yeah, in the aftermath of those sort of shots on goal was just complete chaos, as this one is still up, it is still on target, and it is going to be in. Matt gonna seal the 5th game here, completing the sweep for the Spartans. They are gonna take this series, and man, oh man, what a great final game to get us there. That is just a fantastic sort of turn of events there. That was craziness, the last sort of 30 seconds there after that opportunity from the Spartans.
It was madness out there in the final stages of that overtime frame, and the Spartans, full credit to them in this game that they didn't fall victim to that counterattack that you felt was coming from the Blizzard. If the Spartans just overcommitted a little bit too much on those chances that were close, Blizzard could have just walked one in back the other way, but they didn't. And the flick from Matt ended up being a series winner that secures a crucial 5-0 for the Spartans. This is a huge series win, and it could be a turning point for their entire season in threes if they can use the momentum to keep winning after this.
Yeah, if they can keep that momentum up, that is definitely the way that you want to go through, especially if you're trying to make the playoffs, and especially if you have sort of that slim margin where you have to do everything perfectly and you still even need a little bit of help from the opponents above you to sort of get your way into the playoffs. Spartans here doing everything that they can to make sure that they have every opportunity to get into the playoffs. And man, oh man, that was good to watch. You really did sort of expect that the Blizzard were going to have some sort of grandiose counter to that first game, seeing how dominant they were through it. And the Spartans were able to completely nullify it throughout the entire series, and that was just fantastic to watch for me.
Absolutely, and it's, I think, as well worth saying that despite it being a 5-0, there were no blowouts to be had in this series. All of the games, I think, within a 2-goal margin, or at most 3. So while it was a sweep in the series, the Spartans had to work for every single one of those wins. And again, full marks to them for playing a consistent team game in doing that. And speaking of team games, we're sticking in threes. We're going to stay in the 3v3 format here, the new one for this season of MLE, but we're going to shift up a couple of gears now to the Premier League. We're staying with a couple of divisions from Storm and Forge, though. It is the Jets versus the Hurricanes in PL, Premier League 3v3. That's going to be the next slated match here on MLE Sports GG2, so don't go anywhere, and we'll be back with some Rocket League shortly.